Last night was one of the more pleasant nights in a while, as I was staying in the lovely backyard of a trail angel in Athens, Ohio, who made me breakfast and gave me a bunch of coffee before taking me back to trail.
And I am back. And my knees are creaking because I've got filled water bottles. I have way more food than I've had so far on this trip. So the person I stayed with, super nice lady. She's actually the sister of somebody that I met through the YouTube channel, which it's always kind of fun. Those random connections that you never would have had. And she lives in this area, so she was nice enough to go grab the shoes when they arrived, days after I went by. And she took me to get some real food. She fed me a hearty breakfast, lots of coffee, and made sure I was resupplied. And of course, the new shoes are the big thing that I am excited about. Those last 200 miles on these New Balances were a bit rough. From here on out, the plan is to start looking at replacing them in the 450 to 500 mile range. I didn't really intend to push them to 700 miles. I just didn't want to replace them earlier than I had to, just because shoe costs are not an insignificant factor on these hikes. So I had a really nice night. The lady had this really cool little house, really small, but a really cool little yard. So I was set up in the back and got everything set up before the rain started last night. I was very well fed on lots of things that were not trail food, which I always appreciate. Only downside is I was not able to get videos up. So I'm going to have a whole pile of them when I get to the next town. Yesterday ended up being about a half day, mostly because whenever somebody's helping me out and coming and getting me, obviously I'm going to work on their schedule. So I ended up getting picked up around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And that basically meant I only made 10 miles. Those muddy roads just did a number on me. But that's okay. My feet were rough from being in wet socks for days and days and days. So having a partial day probably does me more good than harm. Because I don't want to try my luck hitching off trail, I have a 100-mile food carry here. If I was going to, there is a town I could hike into that had a Walmart, but that was going to be 3 miles each way. And while I could do that, that's a big chunk of my day right there, And in addition, since I have been running a little light on food with the longer days, I tried to bulk up again. And if anything, I may have overdone it. I have 4 days and change of food, snacks, and that has basically filled up my bag, combined with a few extra bean and rice dinners. Again, the way the timing worked out, Mom had included 4 things of beans and rice, and I still had some left over from when Jen had mailed them to me, so I wasn't going to toss them. So my bag is a little heavier for a little while. But I was also able to get rid of my spare jacket. I sent the Black Diamond home. I also sent home my down pants and my down socks, because with the heat and humidity, I don't think I'm going to need them until I'm in Colorado. And so that lady's nice enough to mail them out to my parents, where I can basically pick them up before I head up into the mountains, which should work out quite nicely. Also, after the last few days of mud, sweat, and rain, it feels absolutely lovely to have had a shower and have dry clothes. Now, I fully expect my shirt is going to be sodden in another couple hours here, but enjoy them while you can, right? From what I can tell, looking ahead, lots of squiggles, fair amount of trail. So, not expecting super easy miles, flat road walks like this actually are more conducive for longer days. But I'm anticipating more green and pretty sections. My resupply was at Walmart, which, bad business practices aside, tends to make for a very good resupply because they are consistent in their stocking and I can always get pretty much everything I need Plus, that's the only place I can find the spandex underwear that work so well for me and that have been far more durable than the Under Armour. So if I run out of anything in this next section, it's probably going to be isobutane. I was sitting at Walmart yesterday with a new 230 gram canister in my hand going, I have a mostly full one. I wasn't willing to, toss a brand new one. I felt with all the food I was buying, carrying two was going to be a waste. However, I do have a old Sierra Club friend who lives in Columbus these days who's going to come see me on Saturday. So that's actually going to be my next resupply plan. I think it's Tuesday now, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Probably meet him Saturday or Sunday. Find a way to get into a grocery store. Maybe get some more real food. I've actually been feeling a lot more content since getting to Ohio. I still have a long way to go, but at least now I feel like I've made decent progress. I escaped the East Coast. There's always a fear that I'm going to do what I see on the Facebook groups and hype up that I'm going to do this big thing, only to have the universe or my own wimpiness have me flame out in like the first 100 miles and sheepishly crawl home with my tail between my legs. So I think I have 400 some miles left of Ohio. The last couple of weeks when I've been firing on all cylinders, I've been able to make around 130 miles. Still looking to improve that. Ideally, I would be doing 25-mile days, but just have to work with the reality. The other thing is, as I get further west, if you're following the news right around now, there has been all sorts of severe weather out there. Tornadoes, severe thunder and lightning. And I will push it through uncomfortable situations. I'm not going to push it during, foolhardy, dangerous stuff, just for bragging rights. Snow and lightning are two things I do not mess around with at all. And nobody wants to be looking at a tornado twister coming at you when you're out in the middle of nowhere. So Jen and I are working on a vague plan for her to join me in Indiana. But other than that, it is just more of the same. It does seem like the camping worries I had previously have mostly gone away out here. There's been enough open forests and things like that where even if I'm on private property, it's remote enough where I'm not going to bother anybody. That means I can push it later in the day, right up until dark. And I don't have to stop 4 miles early because I'm afraid it's just all going to be farmland and there's no place to camp. The mix of trail and road like the last couple of days is actually rather nice because by the time I get to a trail or get to a road, I'm tired of the other and makes me appreciate it more. Love being in the green canopy, but that mud does cut a fairly significant amount off my speed. I did check the weather before I left. As has become the norm, it just shows rain every day, but it's impossible to tell how much. I mean, yesterday was generally pleasant, kind of sprinkled off and on, never even felt the need to get my umbrella out except right at the end at Murray City. And then last night at like 9 o'clock, it poured for about half an hour as one storm cell kind of came over. But even there, it was just the edge. The main bit was further south. So it just seems luck of the draw. Nothing really to do or change. If I know it's going to rain hard for an extended period of time, I might set up camp a little earlier, but once the tent's up, it really doesn't matter. It was really nice and calming just listening to the rain hitting the fly last night. Well, I was going to take a break here, but guess not. So that wasn't bad. Normally when they come up and they're barking and their tails are wagging, no big deal. However, that first one, I was talking to him and then he was up ahead of me and okay, no problem. Then all of a sudden he tried to get behind me and he snarled and kind of snapped at me. This is why I don't like ever letting my guard down. Oh, hey. It is Tater's favorite little critter. After Hurricane Elsa, or whatever it was that hit us on the Eastern Continental, there were thousands of them everywhere. It was actually hard to hike without stepping on one. So the latest trick of this trail is these little side jaunts that come right back to the road after doing a little bit of extra gain. They've been really pretty so far though. I keep getting whiffs of natural gas here, which I would normally make a joke about or assume was some sort of odd plant, but considering I've seen natural gas like pipes and tanks around, I'm guessing there's something leaking. Probably good I'm not lighting my stove right now, huh? 'And sadly, it is getting to be that time of year. Three o'clock, started hearing thunder off in the distance. I don't know if it affects here, but where I was staying outside of Athens, there's actually a flood watch on for the next 2-3 days. One of those quite broad ones. It basically seems like there are going to be storm bans in the area. Storm bans can bring extreme rain. Okay, yeah, looks like it's gonna get fun. Red, yellow thunder band headed my way, supposed to hit within 30 minutes. Not sure if it's coming through yet, but there is a whole hell of a lot of thunder off to my left at the moment. Okay, 6 o'clock. I've been on the look for the last hour or two for a water source I feel comfortable filtering. Basically looking for something that's a little creek that won't have traveled too far or something coming from uphill. No luck, but I got another 2 hours. Okay, water source it is, I guess. So I've basically been super paranoid ever since that incident on the CNO, for good reason. But yeah, there hasn't been any water all day. I'm still running off the water I started with today, so I'm filled up, got some to drink, go on until sun goes down. I'm not making 25-mile days at this rate. Too much mud. Oh, taters would love you even more. It looks like all hell is breaking loose further west. Not close enough to cause an issue, but Carrot's reporting all sorts of funnel clouds and things in a storm out there. It looks like in another couple of miles, there is a shelter. I may end up there tonight. I have been working my butt off all day, but just slower going. Well, I'm just hoping it has a bottom on it. Okay, well, I think I'm actually going to stay here tonight. 8:21, and I'll take it. Mosquitoes have been bad enough. I'm going to do the tent inside of the shelter thing. This is pretty damn impressive, though, considering how lightly used this trail seems to be per all the registers and far out and everything. So, home sweet home. Wow, there's actually somebody here today. What do you know? Pretty few and far between, though.